Hey guys, welcome to the Waiters Academy. A lot of you are asking questions about wine. So today I'm gonna do a basic video about wine knowledge. What I think it's important to know about white wine, red wine, some characteristics of the wine. So when you go to the guest and you want to try and sell a bottle of wine, you know what to say, how to say it, and look more professional, because it's important to sell a bottle of wine, especially as expensive bottle of wine. We have to earn the trust of the guest. That's the only way he will go with our suggestion, and he will trust us to try something that we suggest. We have to look professional. We have to talk professional. So today, wine knowledge for beginners, of course, just the basics from Waiters Academy coming up. Hi guys, Nate here from Waiters Academy. Today we are talking about wine. I will give you the basics, the characteristics of white wine, red wine, some of the main grapes that produce some of the most important and most special wines in the world. And if you want to dig a little bit deeper, you can visit my website. There will be more information about it. Links are down in the description. So check it out, but let's go with the video today. Now, we are going to talk about the characteristic of the wine in general. The most important characteristic is taste. Taste can be sweetness, bitterness, and acidity. So when you taste the wine, you feel if it's a sweet wine, if it's a medium sweet or medium dry or dry wine. Then you can figure out if there's a lot of acidity or it's not acidity, or it's in the middle. And then of course bitterness. Generally this bitterness characteristic, we don't want bitterness, especially in the white wines. Of course the red wines with a lot of tannin, and they're gonna have some bitterness, but that's a good thing when it's really well balanced with all the other characteristics of the wine, but we'll cover that later. So sweetness, the wine can be sweet, medium dry, or a half dry, and then of course dry wine. Those first two we're not going to cover at all, because 99% of the wines are dry wines, and those are the wines that you will be selling in your restaurant most of the time. Then acidity, nobody wants acidity in the wine, but actually wine without acidity is not a good wine too. So acidity is this freshness on your tongue, in the mouth when you try the wine, and it's always good when you taste the wine to feel this acidity. The only problem is when it's too much, then of course it's too acid, the people don't want it. Those wines are usually made with the grapes that are not ripe enough and things like that. Ripe enough is not, but so what you are looking for is when you self-test the wine, if it's a little bit too much acid, then it's always good to suggest to the guest that maybe they don't want to try this wine because there's a little bit more acidity inside. And then bitterness, like I said, in the white wine, we don't look for bitterness whatsoever. In the red wines, like a Cabernet Sauvignon, like a Sangiovese, like a Barolo, of course there is a bitterness, but the thing is to be balanced. Done. The next characteristics of the wine, that's the body. The body is the weight of the wine. You will find a lot of tutorials, a lot of people talking that if the wine has 14% alcohol per volume, it's a full body wine. I think that's wrong. I suggest that you don't Of course, the alcohol is a part of the body of the wine, but it's also the sugar level. It's also the intensity of the flavors on the wine. It's a lot of things balanced that's come into the body. It's not just the alcohol per volume. They're light body, they're medium body, and they're full body wines. A lot of people, when they order light body, they're expecting that something very fruity, very light, very easy drinking, no tannin, like I said, no bitterness, no acidity, just easy drinking wine. Then medium, of course, it's something in the middle, and then full body, you're looking for a wine that's at least 13.5% alcohol in it. There's some tannin, there's some intense flavors, fruit flavors or barrique flavors, combined a little bit more creamy, a little bit more yes, like as a whole. You know, you can compare the light body wine with water, and then the olive oil. You know, you see, you touch it. It's much more consistent inside and things like that. So pretty much that's it. Then we go with the texture of the wine. Now, I say what the important thing here is the persistence. And then to explain this just a simple way, you are looking for the finish and aftertaste. The wine can smell very good, it can taste very good, but if the finish is bitter, or it's the aftertaste is bitter and the finish is short-lived, it's 2 seconds and you don't feel nothing in your mouth, then you cannot say that this wine is amazing. Okay, it's a good wine, you can drink it, but it's not amazing wine. The best wine, they have really long finish. When you drink the wine and you swallow the wine, you have the taste in your mouth for not just seconds, sometimes minutes. You know, it just prickled in your tongue. The flavors of the wine are still going through your nose, and it's if you try some, for example, Sassicaia 2011 or Ornellaia 2009, you feel what I'm talking about right away. And then the aftertaste, if it's bitter, do you feel only the tannin in your mouth and nothing else? You feel the fruit, and you feel the all those little details that you know, explain the sweetness of the wine. So that's also very important. You can feel the finish can be long, but if it's just the tannin, if it's just the bitterness, then you make your mouth really bitter, and it's like, whoa, what kind of wine is that? So that's also important. Now, we are talking about taste. Taste could be sweet, medium, or dry. Then we're talking about body, light body, medium body, full body. Then we're talking about texture. But texture, just, I don't want to explain. I don't really know how to explain it. Just concentrate on finish. Does the wine have a long finish and aftertaste? It's the pleasant aftertaste, so it's a bitter aftertaste, so it's a too sweet aftertaste, herbal and things like that. That's important. So when you go to the guest and you are trying to sell a bottle of wine, you have to mention the taste of the wine. You know, this is a dry wine with not much acidity and no bitterness. Then you say that the body, you know, it's a full body wine. You know, that's pretty much, you don't need to go to details. And then of course explain that it's a nice long finish with an amazing aftertaste of let's say blackberries with a little bit of oak and things like that. Now, the last characteristics, but it's not the last actually, but yes, another characteristics of the wine, that's the smell. So the first thing, you smell it, you test it, and then you touch it. You don't touch the wine, but that's the body. When you touch something, you can say it's a full body, it's a light body, and things like that. But smell. So you have to point to the guest. You know, that's the wine have a nice bouquet. Sometimes it's a mix between wood, oak, and fruit. What kind of fruit? So the wine, the smell, you know, you have to be able to distinguish fruity, citrus, oaky, and herbal. I guess that's pretty much fruity, citrus, oak, or herbs in the smell of the wine. And then if it's a well balanced and a nice bouquet with all those things together. And then the smell, you should be able to explain the intensity of the smell. You know, is it really intense, or it's a really light and easy and pleasant? So that's also important. You know, how it smells, and is it really intensive, or it's a really nice and smooth and pleasant. That also comes to the body of the wine because it's very important when you smell, when you take the glass and you smell it. You know, that's also important to feel how the wine, the whole picture of the wine. And the last thing we should talk about is balance. Of course, you don't try to sell a wine that is not well balanced. You know, most of the time, not most of the time, 100% of the time when I go to the guest and I tell him, you know, this wine is so and so and so and so, and the best thing is it's a well balanced wine, and you feel everything together comes into a really nice balanced structure, and so it's a really world-class wine. Because of the balance. You have acidity, you have tannin, bitterness, you have fruit, and you have oaks, but everything is so well balanced that you don't feel just the oak, or you just don't feel just the acidity. You feel everything together, and it's so pleasant, and it's nice to drink, and it's very complimentary for the food. So that's what I say. The balance of the wine has to be really good in me to sell it to the guests. Otherwise, I'm not going to try to sell it at all. So that's pretty much about the characteristics of the wine. Now we go to the white wines, and I will point for you some of the most important grapes in the world and the regions that they're produced, maybe some of the producers, the wineries, because they're also very important. So the first, and you can say the most important and most popular wine in the world is Chardonnay. Chardonnay is a French grape, and of course the most famous regions are in France, Burgundy region. You can have Chardonnay that's very light and fruity, easy drinking. You can have Chardonnay that's a really full body, barrique wine. Chardonnay could be aged, so it's not a problem. If you try to sell a bottle of Chardonnay, it's not a problem at all. Actually, it's a very nice thing. If you try to sell a bottle of Chardonnay, it's been 10 years old in French barriques. Usually the flavors of Chardonnay, that's a green apple, that's a citrus, pineapple, papaya, vanilla, things like that. But of course, like I said, you can age it in oak barrels, and then you have some really nice mix with bouquet with the fruit and the barrique. The most important regions, like I said, that's a Burgundy in France. You can have amazing Chardonnay from Napa Valley in California, also in Australia. Those Chardonnays from Australia and California, they're more tropical fruit flavors. In France, it's more like a fresh green apple taste, especially if you drink a Chablis. Chablis, you will never find a Chablis in a barrique, I think so. maybe, but maybe there is some small percentage, but I don't think so. Chablis is always fresh, always fruity, and very pleasant wines. You can sell Chardonnay to any kind of guest. You can sell Chardonnay to guests that want something very nice and easy drinking, something really heavy and fruity and barrique. So that's why it's so popular. Plus, you can grow Chardonnay almost everywhere in the world. The next most popular wine, I guess, in the world is the Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is also French grape. Yes, the most famous regions, I would say, that's Loire Valley, the river, like a Sancerre, like a Pouilly-Fumé. This is two small villages on the both sides of the river, next to each other. If you're having a bottle of Pouilly-Fumé or a bottle of Sancerre, that's it's going to be 100% Sauvignon Blanc. Of course, they do in Sancerre also Sancerre Rouge, which is a red wine, but you're not going to see a red wine out of France. If you're in France, of course, you can see a Sancerre Rouge, but not nowhere else. So yes, Sauvignon Blanc, when people order Sauvignon Blanc, they expect that it's really fruity, really light, easy drinking, but Sauvignon Blanc is also rich on acidity. Sauvignon Blanc is rich on acidity, but when it's well balanced with the fruit, then it's a wonderful, wonderful wine, and people enjoy it. Usually is a light body or a medium body. Sauvignon Blanc, you can age or barrique also the Sauvignon Blanc, but I don't like the combination. It doesn't pass good, and plus 99% of the people that will order or ask for a nice Sauvignon Blanc, they were looking for something that's really light, fruity, and easy drinking. So if anybody orders Sauvignon Blanc and you know that this is a barrique wine and it's a little bit different taste, you have to warn them. Tell them right away, you know what, this is a barrique wine, it's a little bit heavier, a little bit stronger, full body or something like that, and it's so the guests are warned, and they will appreciate that very much. Another region about Sauvignon Blanc, and probably the best region for the last 10 years, that's New Zealand, especially Marlborough country in New Zealand. You can have gorgeous wines. Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. I love Villa Maria wines or Cloudy Bay wines. Those Sauvignon Blancs are a little bit tropical again. Amazing wine. Then California, of course. In California, there is one specific about Sauvignon Blanc. Many years ago, Robert Mondavi, who is the most famous winer in the States, created the Fumé Blanc, which is the Sauvignon Blanc. He's just changed the name. It's a marketing strategy, but the name stick with the wine. And in California, in the States, you can have a bottle of Fumé Blanc. Don't think that this is a different wine. It's a Sauvignon Blanc. Just the name is changed, and they try to do it a little bit of yes, they try to do it with a little bit of age in oaks, in barrels. Yeah, sometimes it turns out pretty good. Most of the time, I will suggest that the Sauvignon Blanc should be drink really fresh and fruity, and the guests enjoy this way more, and they recognize those kind of wines when it's a Sauvignon Blanc. Then we are moving forward. Now guys, the next one we'll talk about is the Pinot Grigio. In France it's a Pinot Gris, but the best Pinot Grigios are from Italy nowadays. It's the most popular wine. If somebody wants to order something Italian, they will look for a Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio in general is very light, very easy drinking wine, without bitterness, without acidity, very fruity, and that's what the guests will be looking when they are asking for Pinot Grigio. So you should order that. If there's a little bit more acidity, they're not gonna like it, so just warn them. If you know that this Pinot Grigio is not so good this year, it's happened to be not so good, and it's a little bit more acid, then just warn the guests. Usually flavors, yes, peach, apple, vanilla, citrus, pear, melon, what can I eat? Anyway, those kind of light fruit. And then of course, what is the best region in, it doesn't matter, it's in Italy, the best Pinot Grigios. Of course you can have some Pinot Grigios from Austria, from United States, but I would suggest that if you drink Pinot Grigio, or you try to sell Pinot Grigio, let it be your local, maybe it's a local producer, or it's Italian. Don't try to sell Grauburgunder in Australia, because it's a very good wine, but it's from Austria or from Germany or something like that. Pinot Grigio, I don't think it's good to age. It's not good to mix with barriques and things like that. It's a fresh, fruity, light wine. Is drinking wine. The next wine we're going to talk about is the Riesling. Yes, we're going to go back to Europe, a little bit north. Riesling is a German wine or Austrian wine. It's a very popular because you can have also Riesling that's very, very light, very easy drinking. In Germany they produce amazing half dry or a sweet Riesling, Spätlese Rieslings from Mosels. You can have some amazing wine there too. But also Riesling can be really full body, aged in barriques, and you can age Riesling for many, many years, decades. And I have drank some Riesling that's 15, 16 years old, that tastes like the best wine in the world. Riesling is a peach, citrus, apricot, vanilla, honey, some of those really heavy, smooth Rieslings that like a Smaragd from Wachau in Austria. They taste like honey. There's some amazing wines in Riesling, from Riesling. Yes, like I said, Mosel or Rheingau in Deutschland, Wachau in Austria. Pretty much you can find Riesling also in the Columbia Valley in USA, but or in Australia too, but very small quantities. And if you drink Riesling, I would suggest, or if you suggest Riesling to the guests, I would guess that should be a German or Austrian wine, because it's their grape, Riesling. Then the next wine, I also stay in Germany and in Austria. There's also Riesling in Schweiz. Grüner Veltliner is the next one. So Grüner Veltliner is also a wine that you can have it really fresh, really young, fruity, easy drinking, also really heavy barrique wine, but it doesn't age so good like Riesling. Grüner Veltliner usually drinks in about 4 years, I guess. That's the best maximum. But yes, the guests are looking for something that's fresh. When they look for Grüner Veltliner, they look for something fresh, usually green apple. That's why the name is green, because the wine is actually a little bit greener colors. But yes, green apple is the basic taste for Grüner Veltliner. Like I said, you have it light body, medium body, full body, all the scales. Grüner Veltliner, I would suggest also Wachau from Austria. Maybe the best producers for Grüner Veltliner are there situated. Pretty much I will stop here. There are a lot of different amazing grapes that you can find in a bottle prepared wine in the whole world, but those are, I would say, the most popular brand, no, most popular grapes, and you should stick with that. Of course, Make sure you learn your local wines, because that's very important. When the guests come to your country, they will like to try a wine that's produced in your country. And so learn your wine list, learn your local wines, make sure you can compare your local grapes to one of the popular grapes in the world. And let's say the guest is looking for something very light and easy. You can say, you know what, try our grape and this wine. It's very good prepared, it's very well balanced, it's light and fruity, just like Pinot Grigio. You will love it. Try our wine. You know, you help your economy, your sell your your products to the tourists in the world, and they can start talking about it. And then of course it gets more popular and more popular. Not everybody should drinking only French or Italian wines. So that's how it is, guys. And now we're gonna go with the red wines. And once again, we are starting with the French grapes, because those are the most popular, and everybody knows, France is the wine of the country of the wine. So the most popular grape in the world, I would say, it's the Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon is amazing wine by itself, but because of some of the characteristics, like a lot of tannin, the wineries usually mix it, blend it with some other grapes to produce some of the most amazing wines in the world. But if you like heavy wine, and Cabernet Sauvignon could be aged in barriques for many years, and then you really can appreciate the wine when it's aged in a barrique and it's a really full body, strong. I have drank some amazing Cabernet Sauvignons. Of course, when it's young, it's a little bit more acid, a little bit more tannin, and people don't like that most of the time. But like I said, you can have some amazing Cabernet Sauvignon by itself. The flavors of the Cabernet, you have bell pepper, you have blackberries, you have black cherries, you have currant, you have herbs, you have cassis. When all those flavors are blended with the barrique, you know, if it's aged for like a couple of years, it turns out some amazing wines. Of course, the most popular place is Bordeaux, but in Bordeaux, most of the time they blend the Cabernet Sauvignon with Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot. Those four wines are the Bordeaux combination. And those four wines blended together, they produce some of the most exclusive wine in the world. Cabernet Sauvignon, you can drink from pretty much everywhere in the world, but in America, there's some really special Cabernets. I have tried some of those. I love it. Of course, South Africa, Australia, also Europe, and of course you can try some Cabernets in Europe. But like I said, Bordeaux is the country of Cabernet, and the best wines, of course, not just simple Cabernet, but blended, are coming from Bordeaux and France. So what you should know about a bottle of Cabernet: don't try to sell a Cabernet Sauvignon to a guest that had told you that he's looking for something light and fruity and easy drinking. Cabernet has to be a full body, heavy wine, most of the time aged in oak. So you should sell Cabernet to people that like those heavy, full-body wine with a lot of tannin, a lot of oak. Pretty much that's all you should know about Cabernet as a beginner. Then the next wine is also in France. That's the Merlot. Merlot is a little bit different than Cabernet because it's not so popular by itself. It's most of the time blended. But what's interesting about Merlot is that Merlot has produced, arguably or not arguably, the best bottle of wine in the world. Because if you ask anybody that knows anything about wine and ask him which one is the best bottle wine in the world, 90% of the people would tell you that that's Chateau Petrus in France, and Chateau Petrus is 95% Merlot. And of course, if we talk about Merlot and just a bottle of Merlot, you have to know that Masseto from Tuscany, Italy, is 100% Merlot, and Masseto is one amazing, very expensive, of course, wine that's produced only from Merlot in Tuscany, Bulgaria. So yes, Merlot, it's not so popular by itself, but has produced two of the best wines in the world just by itself. Merlot is also a wine from Bordeaux. They use it, like I said, in a combination with Cabernet Sauvignon. Most of the time, it produces one of the most beautiful, amazing wines in the world. Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, both blended together, aged in French barriques. There is nothing better than that. Absolutely nothing better than that. Merlot, the flavors of Merlot are a little bit like a red berries, like a cherry, a little bit of turf. So not so strong like and heavy like Cabernet Sauvignon, not so much tannin, but has more body actually. So when they combine, the Cabernet brings the flavors and the tannin, and the Merlot brings the body and turns into an amazing bottle of wine. South Africa and South America are countries that produce Merlot very well, very good wines you can drink from there. United States also, of course, but like I said, Merlot is most of the time blended and brings some amazing wines. The third wine, it's also a French wine, but that's how it is, guys. Pinot Noir is very interesting wine because Pinot Noir is very light color wine, light body, medium body, and it's when it's good prepared, it's a very easy drinking wine with some amazing flavors. But also you can age Pinot Noir in barrique, in oak, and turn out some really special wines that are also easy drinking. So it could be full body, but it's still easy drinking wine, very pleasant. I love Volnay, for example, and yes, Pinot Noir is a Burgundy wine. In Burgundy, they produce Pinot Noir. That's the most popular wine in France. Of course, they have made it popular the whole world. People know Pinot Noir. They love it. They want to drink it. Something interesting about Pinot Noir is that it's the main component of producing champagne. And a lot of white wines actually are produced with Pinot Noir. A lot of rosé also produced with Pinot Noir, although it's a red grape wine. The flavors of Pinot Noir, you can have plum, you can have blackberry, you can have cherries and blueberries. So really nice flavors. And they combine very well with the barrique, with the oak when it's aged, and I personally love it when it's aged. Finally, we are moving away from France and we are going to Italy, and the most popular grape in Italy is the Sangiovese. Sangiovese is the grape of Tuscany, and in Tuscany you can have Sangiovese in the form of Chianti. Chianti is minimum 65% Sangiovese, maybe 75, depends of the type of Chianti. And of course you can have, for example, Brunello de Montalcino, which is 100% Sangiovese wine. Then you go to Bulgaria, and some of the super Tuscanas like Tinanello are produced with Sangiovese, blended with Cabernet Sauvignon, for example, for the Tinanello. Sangiovese is light color also, but with a lot of tannin in a full body. It produces really full body wines. When it's aged, it turns really gets some more body in the wine, in the bottle, and it's really good. You can age Sangiovese for many years and produces some of the amazing wines. What is more to say about Sangiovese? Yeah, I guess that's it. Don't just remember this is the Tuscany wine. If you sell Chianti, make sure that you know that this is a Sangiovese inside the bottle, and also Brunello de Montalcino, because that's 100% Sangiovese, and about other Rosso de Montalcino also. It has to be aged, usually 3-4 years for the Chianti and the Brunello, and yes. Tuscany is the most important and one of the most famous wine regions in the world, not just in Italy. So they do some amazing wines over there, like the Super Tuscanas. I already said about it. But although some of the Super Tuscanas do not include Sangiovese, for example, Ornellaia, one of the most beautiful wines in the world, is produced exclusively with Bordeaux wines, only Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, and Merlot. But they are Tuscany wine, they are Italian wines, and they are really good. I guess that's all we need to talk about the red wine. Now guys, if you want to dig deep, like I said, you can go to the website, to my website, and check some of the articles over there. I don't want you, if you're, for example, from Argentina, Malbec is amazing wine. If you're from Spain, Tempranillo, Ribera del Duero, I love these wines. There are a lot of wines. If you're from Austria, Zweigelt produces some great wines, and when you combine Zweigelt with St. Laurent, with a Blaufränkisch, for example, Batonnage, it's a freaking amazing wine. I compare Batonnage with Chateau Latour or anything else in the world, actually, because it's amazing wine. There are a lot of red wines that I love to drink, but there is no chance I can talk about all of them, and you don't need to know them, because if you know all those white and red that we already talked about, and then you learn your local wines, you have enough confidence and enough knowledge, enough mojo to go to the guest and tell him, hey, you know what, why don't you try Sancerre? If you like something that's really nice and fruity and no barrique, you try Sancerre. It's a Sauvignon Blanc, wonderful wine, fresh, blah blah blah, and things like that. So like I said, this video is about you learning the language and being able to say something little about this and this and this, so you look more professional and you can earn the trust of the guest. In order to sell wine, like I said, we have to earn the trust of the guest. What else? I guess that's gonna be for today as a first video for beginners. There are a lot of information on the net. You can always find something to read and something to listen and watch and learn some more. I suggest that you learn, because wine brings us money. Now, couple more things about selling wine. what I do, guys, is, because we have to sell, as a waiters, we have to sell wine in order to bring our business to our restaurant. The easiest way is to sell wine, because a good bottle of wine can triple your bill. For example, if you are in a nice fine dining restaurant and two people sit on a table, and let's say the average check is $75 per person, those two people will make a bill of $150. If they tip you 20%, that's a $30 tip. That's pretty good. But imagine that you go to the table and tell them, hey guys, would you like to try some of the amazing wines? We just had a new collection of Chateau Latour, and it's gonna pass very good with your food. It's expensive wine, but it's one of the most exclusive wine in the world. So if you are able to sell Chateau Latour and it's a $450 bottle, now your bill is gonna be $600. Even if they don't give you 20% on this bill, they give you 10 or 15%, you're gonna still make 2 or 3 times more than just the normal check of $150. You understand? And the business is gonna make much more money. You're gonna earn the respect of your managers, of your owners, you're gonna earn the respect of your co-workers. But the thing is that you're gonna earn the respect of the guests too. And the next time they come to the restaurant, they're gonna ask about you, and they will tell you, hey, suggest something nice for us today to drink. And selling wine, it gets easier and easier this way. And trust me, selling wine to a guest is not a bad thing. Those guests that come to the restaurant, they are there to spend money and have fun. The only reason the guest doesn't order every night $200 a bottle of wine is because he thinks that he can have the same experience with a $50 or a $30 bottle. If you can convince them and really sell them a really bottle that will complement their food and they will really enjoy it, trust me, they will be more than happy to spend those $200 to $300 and tip you accordingly after that. Those guys that come to the restaurants, they have money and they want to enjoy their evening. So selling a nice bottle of wine is not a crime. No way. The bottle of wine that will complement their food will make their mood really nice, really good. And of course, that's how we want our guests. When they have fun and they enjoy the evening, they tip you more. And a nice bottle of wine really can bring this mood to the table. All right? So that's what it is. Enjoy your day, enjoy your evening. Go today, sell one bottle of wine that's a little bit more expensive than the usual, and you will feel the feeling and you want more from the same in the future. Take care, guys. I'll see you next Wednesday. Ciao. I'll have to make a break because my cat is hungry and not giving me any break. I will have to take care of him, and we'll continue later. Okay? God damn it, Reggie. What's wrong with you? I'm working, man. Meow, meow, meow. Come here. Say hi. Come on. Say hi. Say hi to the camera. Reggie, why are you quiet now? The guy ordered a bottle, I bring the bottle to the table, and I go like that. So, sir, you order a bottle of Brunello de Montalcino, Banfi 2011. Yes? Yes. May I open the bottle for you? Yeah, thank you. I keep the bottle with the etiquette to his face, and I start opening. I make the cut. That's the solace. Just go here straight, and then you're ready. everybody that tests the wine and know how to test it, smells. You stick your nose all the way inside the glass and you smell, and you take a deep smell, so all those flavors of the wine get inside your brain, all those sensors, and you can feel and you can really say, hey, that's amazing wine, or what is this that smells like shit and it's not good. You know, if it's a cork, you will feel it right away. If it's a fruity wine, it's gonna smell like fruits. So smell, you can describe like a fruity wine, you can describe like a citrus smell, you can describe like an oaky wine when it's aged and it's been in barracks, it's gonna smell like oud, you know, like oak. Or you can say that it's a herbal. There's a lot of wines, especially white wines, that are herbal. There's a lot of guests that like them and a lot of guests that actually don't like herbal wines. So make sure that you distinguish those different tastes. Is it a fruity? Is it a citrus? Is it barrique, oaky wine, or it's a herbal wine? So that's the four main, I would say, characteristic of smell of the wine: fruity, citrus, barrique, oak, and herbs.